I make a real point of walking at the pasture where there is a lot of deer poop, and I actually step in it. So Connor, you could probably tell me really easily how I'm going to benefit.
I'm not sure about walking around barefoot in deer poo, but I'm sure there's probably benefits.
And I'm currently writing a book. It's like having a really big spot that you've had for 25 years and you're squeezing it, you know, when all the pus comes out and you go, oh, that's amazing. That's what it feels like.
Bumped into Brisbane guide dogs who changed 200 dogs from dry food to fresh food, and their veterinary bills fell by 82%.
Dr. Clarke joined us here. Brendan, hi. You're late. Big trouble.
You know, some of us actually do some proper veterinary medicine and still are seeing clients.
Ow, ouch. Ooh. You guys, can you see how sorry he feels for himself? Hello, my dog lovers. Hi, guys.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, guys.
I have Dr. Nick Thompson and Dr.
Hey,
Conor
guys.
Brady, and also on the way, Dr. Brendan Clarke, but he's somewhere in traffic or somewhere getting to this broadcast. Anyway, today I have a little bit of a surprise. I've been doing something that is kind of unexpected. At one point, I was supposed to prepare for recording and I didn't have time. I just got busy and got stuck in traffic. And eventually I got home and I thought, oh my goodness, I can't be unprepared. So I got these conversation cards and we had a great session with Dr. Judy Morgan.
Oh, cool.
And I thought, you know, it's so interesting because people don't get to know us. Like you guys are, you guys are raw pet medics and you do conferences and you're absolutely fantastic. And I got a chance to meet you in Orlando at Dr. Judy Morgan's conference. And then Mallorca. And so we're sitting here and I'm wondering whether you're game to actually have this impromptu, informal conversation on not just veterinary stuff. We can obviously mix veterinary stuff in, but just to kind of make sure that people get to know us, right? Because that's
a great idea.
Let's do it. Yeah, good idea.
And before we start, some people out there who are listening and watchers, maybe they may know you, and some may not know you. So, do you want to just tell me who you are, or tell them who you are?
You go, Nick.
Okay, Nick Thompson, vet, qualified from Edinburgh University, 1992, with a BSc honours degree in pathological sciences and veterinary medicine. Went into practice for 7 years because I thought I wanted to be James Herriot. If you don't know who that is, have a little Google or a Grok or a Chat GPT. James Herriot. Guys, jump into that. It's very good. Old-fashioned Yorkshire vet who told his stories. And then I thought, I want to be a vet who dabbles in alternative medicine, or do I want to really nail my colours to the mast? So I started studying homeopathy. Then I started. Then I did some acupuncture training. Then I did some herbal training. All the while getting more and more interested in raw food nutrition. So I started my business, holisticvet.co.uk, in 1999. And I've been doing more and more raw food nutrition for cats and dogs, and now mainly for dogs. I miss seeing horses because there's so much work with the dogs and with the food that's where I spend most of my time. And there you go. That's what I'm doing. And I'm currently writing a book. I've just finished chapter 4 of 12 chapters, and I'm really excited. It's just such a relief. It's like having a really big spot that you've had for 25 years and you're squeezing it, you know, when all the pus comes out and you go, oh, that's amazing. And your mouth salivates as you know, one of those ones that your mouth salivates as you squeeze it. That's what it feels like at the moment. So, and I've just had a sports massage, and so I'm feeling relaxed. I'm really delighted to be here with you guys. Well, it's nice to be here with you, Peter. I see these guys far too often. And
There's something nice about it.
And so yeah, I'm in a great place, and it's great to be here to support your excellent work. So thank you for inviting me.
Well,
So
thank you for
yeah.
the intro, by the way. I have to say that it's been an absolute pleasure to kind of spend some time with all three of you. There was just this immediate chemistry, and I know that you, Nick, are just kind of like the action man. You're like, you love it happening, so
I
it's
love,
great.
yeah, things happening is good. Yes.
I had no idea that you're a zit specialist, so we have to actually. I think that you should write a blog on zits and
Okay.
squeezing zits and all that stuff.
You never salivated. Maybe sometimes when you're squeezing the abscess on a cat or a pig or something like that, it's just so juicy. You actually start to salivate. I kid you not.
Could be the name of the book, Nick. Popping the zit.
Yeah, exactly. Like, pop the zit of veterinary medicine.
Yeah, I'd take it off
And
the
like
shelf.
conventional medicine can be a big zit, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Clarke joined us here. Brandon, hi.
Yeah, late.
Hi there.
Late.
Yeah.
You're late, so you're gonna go
Better late
last
than never.
because you're late. Big trouble.
I'm fully good with that. I have, some of us actually do some proper veterinary medicine and still are seeing clients and actually, still dealing with animals face to face rather than just over the internet.
Ow, ouch. Well, some of us are older and they've done 30 plus years of veterinary medicine. So
Yeah, I've done 30 plus.
don't
Some
rub
of
it
us
in.
still have our nose to the grindstone.
For you. Boo.
It's a vet
You
off.
guys, can you see how sorry he feels for himself? But I know that Dr. Clarke loves working with clients, and we all do, but we can't do it all. So just
No, you're
keep
right.
it down, keep it down. You can see that we're in trouble no matter what. Connor, I think it's your turn to let everyone know who you
I am Connor. I am the non-vet of the gang. I do have a Dior in front of my name for those on podcasts. But yeah, I have a PhD studying. Well, it was in zoology. It was in animal behavior. I used to study deer. I studied the effects of nutrition on the gut morphology of deer, the dispersal patterns of deer. That was my 4-year PhD. And then when I came out, I joined guide dogs, and I was a guide dog trainer for a few years and pup supervisor. And while there, I joined the Australian groups to help set up the pup program over there. And that's when I bumped into Ian Billinghurst, Tom Lonsdale, their work. And I was already embarrassingly going around teaching people about nutrition, and then I realized that other people were feeding actual fresh meat to the dogs. I mean, that's how much you can miss the point. And so when I saw the research, I thought, oh, this is interesting, and I read the books and Give a Dog a Bone and that kind of stuff. And that started a big tangent in my life, because I thought I was going to spend my life in guide dogs. I thought I was going to make my way up in those. I love that organization, but I had to leave once I realized that we had to feed fresh food to these dogs. Bumped into Brisbane guide dogs who changed 200 dogs from dry food to fresh food, and their veterinary bills fell by 82%. That's printed in the Courier Times over in Australia. So when I saw that sort of stuff and dug into the research that was supporting dry food, I go back to my superiors and I said, "Oi, look what I found! I can save us loads of money. We'll be better off, and we can use that money and blah blah blah." But we were bound to dry food. Little tiny cash handout, and I couldn't sit with that, so out I went and was raw dog food manufacturing for a couple of years. That I'll never get that time back. That was the hardest work of my life. That was so difficult, so stressful. So I appreciate anyone manufacturing any food product out there. It is not easy. But I had a bit of success on the TV with the TV show and got some investment, and on I went. But for the last 6-8 years, I've just been talking nutrition, health. I wrote a book in 2020, and I've just been really riding the back of that for the last 5 years, and talking, join up with these guys, do a bit of podcasts. So I've got a range of different things, but I just research full time now, and I love it. So I'm back doing what I love, which is research. I'm good at that bit, and that's what I do full time. Dogsfirst.ie is my website, or drconorbrady.com for my videos, which are free to view. So yeah, that's what I'm doing now full time.
That's really fantastic. And what I love about your work and about you is that you bring a fresh non-veterinary perspective, but at the same time you're an expert and you have different angles and you like to kind of poke around in research and just kind of see what's going on. And I really like that. And I think it's good to have kind of like a blend of different perspectives as opposed to, everyone is a vet and, everyone sees it from
Definitely.
one angle. And so that's really cool. Thank you so much. And,
Yeah.
again, like we missed you in Mallorca, where
Yeah.
Brandon and Nick was, but I believe that you're expecting number 3 baby.
Number 3. Yeah, absolutely. Number 3 on the way imminently. Yeah. So
Are
to
they
keep
going to
my
be
head down.
fed raw diet?
Yeah, sort of. They'll eat whatever
You're
they'll
not
eat.
eating
I'll
them.
give them.
You're not offering them raw dog food. You're just like,
No,
actually,
raw carrots.
raw carrots.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
when they're
well-washed.
older, they actually can eat beef tartare, right? And it's basically
go.
raw dog food.
Absolutely.
Nobody actually worries about that, and then people
Yeah.
freak out about bacteria. It's so interesting.
Yeah, that's true.
Brandon, we hung out after the conference in Mallorca. We went to a beautiful spot that you found. I'm very grateful for that. But beside that, I learned about you and what you do, and it's you're very much diverse as well. Like it's so interesting how all of you have had multiple interests and just kind of like doing many things. It's kind of fun, and that's why we get along as well because I like to explore as well. So tell us about you and who you are.
Hi, yeah, thanks, Peter. Yeah, I am Dr. Brendan Clarke. I have been a vet for over 30 years. I qualified down in London and rapidly moved back north to my home country up in West Yorkshire. And I have been in practice conventionally for 30 years, but I joined a holistic practice when I moved back to Leeds and very rapidly learnt very much more than just conventional medicine of keeping symptoms at bay, and moved into truly listening to clients and working out what was going on with their animals for integrating other medicines for effectively prevention of disease. And that's what was so great about being part of Towerwood. And very rapidly, I was a partner there, then started to run the business. So for the last 20 years, I've been in charge of Towerwood, running the business, growing that side of clients and mentoring a lot of vets and nurses and that training and creating the clinical team, but at the same time always moving out with other things, and certainly nutrition was one of the mainstays of that prevention of disease. So I've known Nick for probably a good 25 years now, since we both were into homeopathy, and we learned a few bits and went to various conferences together. It was great in that journey since then that we've been part of the Raw Feeding Veterinary Society, and sort of really pushing fresh foods, which the practice had been doing for much longer than I'd been there, and actually just trying to get some sensibilities over it, getting away from this risk aversion and all of those, panicking that was going on about the slightest bacterium that may be found in a proper live food. Hey presto, it should be really common sense that's normal. We are not in a sterile world. We are in a living world of microbes. That's how we evolved. That's really important for our immune systems, and it always makes me smile every next new paper that comes out with the next great thing about this microbe is really important for that part of your immune system. Never guessed. So learning all of that has been really important. I have lots of other pies, effectively, from things such as the raw safe mark, understanding what's going on with that for manufacture. I have various bits as far as the practice still running, still being part of the Raw Feeding Veterinary Society. I also now am a chief veterinary advisor for a food company called Bella and Duke. So I do a lot of food design and lots of work with those guys too. So it's really
Busy.
busy. So as for writing a book right now, maybe that's left on the top shelf.
That's for the last.
We're all writing a book that we don't know is going to be finished, right?
I think Nick has got 3 or 4 years on me, so I'm thinking I won't start writing for 3 or 4 years yet.
Yeah, I have to do it because I'm going to fall off my perch soon. So I have to get all that pus out of the abscess before I go.
Yeah.
So Connor, you're the only one who's finished the book. We all are writing the book, so it's.
You're writing the book, Peter.
What is that?
You're writing a book.
Yeah, but you know what? I kind of took a little different spin. I decided it's gonna have two halves because I had the pleasure of growing up behind the Iron Curtain. So that's kind of an experience that is like unique on its own. And it just kind of has led me to veterinary medicine in a different way. So I decided part of it is going to be the healing system that I use. And part of it is the second half is going to be more about kind of like, different memories and different bits and pieces of my life that kind of have brought me where I am and how I think and why I'm so annoying sometimes and all that stuff. But
anyway, nice to know.
But anyway, absolutely. But you guys are good company because I know that we all have our own quirks. But what I love about us is that we are so diverse. And Brendan, you're actually talking about the probiotics and bacteria and all that stuff. I make a real point of walking at the pasture where there is a lot of deer poop, right? And I actually step in it. So Connor, you could probably tell me really easily what is in deer poop and how I'm going to benefit or am I going to die tomorrow and all that stuff. But they say that we should move a cow in the living room, right? If you want to be healthy. Is that right?
Yeah.
Sorry, Connor. I've got to mention the goats before I go any further. So I've done that whole thing, Peter. I literally lived with goats for the last 5 years just to really enrich my microbiome. It's been a great experience. Hats off to farmers out there. It is not an easy task to go through the highs and lows of a year with farm animals. And it certainly is more than my wife can cope with, which is one of the reasons that we are withdrawing from that side of things. But, just to totally immerse yourselves in all of those animals around you is an experience, and it's more than just the microbiome. It is something to, if you ever get a chance to live on a farm, stay on a farm, be with those animals, truly not just to visit and then go off on a day trip, but actually spend some time with those animals. It's absolutely worth it, not just to enrich your microbiome, but your whole mental health. But Connor is now going to tell us why it's so important to immerse ourselves in deer poo.
No, but University of Helsinki, their research is great because they showed us the more time that dogs are spend rolling around in the outside, more time in the woods. These guys are picking up. That's a real natural biome, very kind of complex relationship that we don't understand, and you kind of feel for the city dogs that never get to experience any of that. A little bit of fox poo, maybe that's about all they're going to see. So that's an unnatural biome, and studies show the further you move from the cities, the more rich your biome is, the less skin conditions, less gut conditions. Shouldn't be surprising to anybody. So I'm not sure about walking around barefoot in deer poo, but I'm sure there's probably benefits. I don't know, maybe it's a Maui thing, maybe.
You wait till your children start rolling in it.
It's kind of like smooshing around my feet. I just don't worry about stepping in it when it's somewhere in the grass. But I do agree. Like, I feel so sorry for dogs that are actually not allowed to be dogs, and people just kind of protect them. They don't allow them to sniff other dogs. They don't allow them to roll. They don't allow them to get muddy. And they put jackets and hats on. Like, I understand that some people like that, but ask your dog. Maybe they would prefer rolling in mud than
fish guts. Yeah.
Gucci jacket or something.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, and I think that some people, maybe if you're in the city and you've got a young puppy and you think, oh my goodness, I know that they need to have exposure to mud and bones and be a dog and other dogs and what have you. But actually, the work from Helsinki, from Finland, is showing that it's during that early period, that first 6 months or so, say, that if you can get things right then that has a massive protective effect against against skin disease, bowel disease, and all these things that we almost take for granted these days. So if you have got a puppy and you can kind of front load the experiences of getting out into the countryside and seeing other dogs and seeing sheep and farms and all these things, then that's the time to do it. Go heavy in those first 6 months, and then maybe be a bit more cityfied afterwards. Perhaps it's slightly less daunting prospect. I don't know. What do you think, guys?
I think that everyone has an opportunity to actually, either take a train or take a car and go in nature, right? And it's not a science. So we all know that there's science behind it, but it's common sense. That's what I wanted to say. Like the puppyhood, I really loved the lectures on that from Helsinki. It was amazing. But at the same time, I think that just kind of continuing until we drop, I think it's super important. And also water. I think that water is super grounding, and I think that it has something to do with kind of like neutralizing the energies and the kind of like the chaos of the world. It is an ocean and sea, right? Like you guys live on an island, so you know what it is.
Oh yeah, we wouldn't want to swim off some of our coasts, but anyway, that's another matter.
But there are some people who try to swim over to you, right? Like some swimmers, they make it a lifetime goal to actually swim across the channel, and yeah, it's interesting.
The record is I think somebody's done it 3 times, like back to back. They've swum. Can you believe it? It's kind of like it's about 22 miles or so. So
I didn't get hit by a ship the first time. I'm going to try it again and again.
It's one of the busiest shipping lanes in the world. Yeah. So
apparently there's a line of rubbish where the two currents meet, and you have to kind of crawl through that. You get through the other side and then you're out because the rubbish gets trapped there. Have you seen the documentary of that lady who swam from Florida to somewhere in the Caribbean? Was it Cuba? Was it?
Cuba.
Oh, such a good documentary. My wife met her at a. She does talks about how to be a better person, and the documentary is brilliant because it's just about the repeated failings that she had. And just not giving up, and then she does it at 60 or something. She was like, it's a punishing swim.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's incredible feat.
I don't understand. I'm somewhat driven, or I love being busy, but I don't understand these goals, like climbing Mount Everest and risking life.
I don't get it.
Leaving family behind, right? Like or swimming with sharks, like from Cuba to Florida or vice versa. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't get the Everest. Right? Yeah, I don't get the Everest thing. Imagine climbing. Imagine how hard that would be. I mean, just what's the point? I don't want to ever do that.
Do you never climb a mountain? I love this
hills.
Side of
I like a hill, a cliff. Okay. I like a cliff. But a mountain, cold and windy. No.
You like looking over the precipice, but that's about it. Yeah. Not getting up there.
It's the oxygen, right? There's no oxygen. How about hiking with some oxygen? That would be nice, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, you guys, I know that Conor needs to run at certain points. So we have these cars, and I'm gonna usually what I do. I really don't know what is on them. Okay, so it's gonna be a big surprise, and we're gonna go in a circle, and we'll all kind of pitch in with answers because it's kind of fun. And Judy and I had a lot of laughs as well. So you can tell me inner right or inner left or outer right and left. Okay, so you don't think that I'm actually preparing.
Okay.
Just okay.
Okay.
Conor, you go.
Who goes first? Okay, inner left.
Inner left. Okay. And so every card has 2 sides, by the way. I didn't tell you that. It's a good one. especially because you're the only one who wrote a book and finished it so far. What would you like an ideal book to explain to you?
Whoa, what would I like a book to explain to me?
Take notes, Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah. How to write a book,
Yeah,
maybe.
how to make
a really
how
interesting
to make
book.
a woman happy.
Well, that's the impossible book.
How to make a pregnant woman happy. A book what to explain
Think
to
of something
me.
that is possible, okay?
I thought the fact that she was pregnant was that you'd made her happy. But
I would like
What's the question again?
what would I like a book to explain to me? I think I would like an easy way to achieving inner peace. I don't want to meditate. I'm not very good at sitting still. I don't want to do yoga. I don't really essentially want to do anything. But I want a book to give me some very simple tricks where I can just be calm and something like that. Something really quick and easy, almost like a pill, but in book form. I think I would like something like that. That would be nice. Something, I don't know if I'd use it actually, to be honest with you. I don't really do any of that sort of stuff either.
Connor, I'm disappointed almost in that I had you held up there as the person that read all these scientific papers. It was deep into the literature. It was always really complex, and I find some of those really hard to read sometimes. And you seem to be explaining that your perfect book would be like a kid's picture book that virtually takes no need to read. Yeah. Is that because you've been reading to Holly so often that you've realised there's a different book?
It's a very tough question. I don't know what I'm seeking at the moment. I don't know what needs to be explained to me at the moment. I don't know. I know what my next talk is going to be, and I haven't even written one single letter, and that is I want to understand how antioxidants work. And I know that dog antioxidants work very different to the antioxidants we have been thinking about up until recently. For example, I know dogs and cats run on taurine, and taurine is really important for their antioxidation system. Really important. Whereas we think it's all polyphenols and blueberries. And polyphenols work really well when you're on a high carbohydrate diet. They're important for that process because there's lots of oxidation and that those polyphenols work on. But would that work when you're in ketosis and living on protein and fat? This sounds incredibly nerdy, guys, but these are the thoughts that occupy my mind, and I'm thinking I'm going to dedicate a whole year to this, lads. I'm not messing. 26 by the time University of Helsinki talk comes up, that gives me 9 months. I'm going to see what other antioxidants dogs run on and cats. We take all this plant information because it works in humans, but we eat a completely different diet, and these guys work on different antioxidants. That sounds incredibly nerdy, but there isn't a book out there that explains the difference because I don't have a carnivore antioxidant system. I need to find the right person. Anyway, that's a nerdy answer. Let's move on.
No, just be nerdy. Be as nerdy as you want to be. And because it's cool. And, so I think that there's beauty in simplicity, to be honest. I totally agree with you that, having something really simple and kind of figuring it out and where it doesn't take a whole lifetime to actually become a normal human being, right?
Yeah, exactly that. I want to be a normal human being now. Yeah.
We all relate to that, don't worry.
Yeah.
I think that Brendan is next, or maybe Nick. You guys don't argue who's going to go next.
No, whatever.
Right, Bren, on you go.
Right outer. There.
So
right
you
hand.
want a next?
Are we going the same?
You want a quick new question, actually.
Go for a new
unless you have
question.
some
Go on.
comments about what Brendan Conor said. We can go to the next question. Sure, we'll mix it up a little bit. We don't want to bore people to hell. Okay, so tell us about 3 of your good friends. What do you like about them?
3 friends.
Brendan.
That's a tough one for Brendan.
Well, we're here, right? So
Yeah,
you
exactly.
Can just,
I know.
and say what
I like them if I know something they don't. No, and sorry, that's very wrong. I just always keep guessing. No, it's quite the reverse, and that's what sometimes is great. Is I really love to be among people that know more than me. That I can find something out from them, that I can bounce something off. that actually you can relax into a conversation, that you're not worrying about your point of view being, not necessarily ridiculed, but frowned upon as not the status quo, not the
same.
Not the sort of, almost prejudicial that you're going to be seen as somebody really weird and strange if you start talking in a certain way. And sometimes even family, you can be nervous about that scenario. And now Conor's experienced this as well. I know we've talked about it in the past, and it resonates that, I feel the same, that I like to be among people that you can talk about different things, and they may have a different opinion, and that's absolutely great. But they at the same time are listening to you, and you can talk about the various theories and how we get to a place. People that are good enough to change my mind. That's the other thing. I don't want to be somebody who's just, this is my way and the only way. I want to be amongst people that can do that. So I count those as my good friends, as those that are in that category.
Who challenge you, inspire you. There's a lot of conversation. Like we kind of had that conversation when we were hiking together, right? In Mallorca, because it was like, I learned tons from you, and learned different kind of perspectives of what you do and what we do. And it's just really like, that's why I actually love going to conferences and meeting new people like you. And it was almost instant. Like we have known each other only for 6 months, but it feels like we can just chat about everything and challenge ourselves and make fun of each other and all that stuff. So I guess we're gonna draw another card, because that's what seems to be happening today. So Dr. Nick, left, right, inner, outer.
Let's go left outer, please.
Left outer. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And there's a. You chose it. What are you ashamed of in yourself?
Oh my goodness. Okay. What? That's. I mean, how deep do you want to go with this?
As deep as you want to go with.
Okay,
and
that's a
I'm
good
sure
answer.
that Brendan and Connor is going to contribute some.
It's
some
a very. Look, it's Connor with his young daughter. That's very nice to see. What I'm ashamed of? Oh God, the list is very long, but just to kind of keep it vaguely on topic, I would say of all the opportunities where I could have learned something and I didn't. That sounds a little bit snooty and a bit kind of, ooh, look at me. But there are opportunities in my career. Don't ask me for an example, but I like learning, and I have missed opportunities, and so in a short answer, it would be for those opportunities to learn that I have missed. Books that I kind of started that I didn't finish. Conversations. I'm actually very shy, and so I was very shy when I first met you as well, actually, and so I think that holds me back. So there you go. If you want something that's really, really very specific, I think it was shame. So am I ashamed? I'm not ashamed of it. I'm just kind of just wish I wasn't quite so shy, because if I was less shy, I would be more comfortable to go up to people and say, that's a fantastic book, or I love what you're doing, and I'd love to learn more. And so I wish I was better able to do that. How about that? That's
very cool and very brave that you actually say that, because I think that the inner world of us is actually very similar, and discovering that we actually can fit in somewhere, and that we're pretty much similar to everyone else is actually really cool. And I think that coming out with with the statement that you're shy or you feel shy. Like I think we all feel shy actually, but it's really
Yeah.
brave of you to say that. But that's what I'm realizing as I turned 60. I don't know, there was like a little threshold. Like, you know, when you're 60, you go like, oh, I don't give a shit. Like, you know, it just, you know, I
Yeah,
don't care what people
I
think
don't
of
care
me.
anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I don't care anymore. Yeah, it's really cool. Thank you so much for being so honest and candid. And I know that you guys don't want me to get uh, don't want me to get out of this. So I'll have the fourth question here. How have you let people down?
Ooh.
Oh,
Oh,
so
wow.
God,
So
thank
that's for
God,
me. That's for
thank
me.
God, that's
Okay, like,
yours.
Yeah,
this is
there's that
punishment.
€100 you owe me,
This
actually,
is the
Pete. That would be
punishment.
nice.
Do I owe you 100 euros?
Yeah. We'll call it 100. Yeah. It was
No,
only
I don't owe you
two,
100
Don't
euros.
do that to him, Nick.
but I'm just rounding up, you know.
Gee, if I did, like, there's a possibility that I borrowed money from you, and now I'm gonna be raking my, like, I'll send you 200 euros. Is it okay? No
No,
matter what
man.
that.
Listen, relax. I'm joking.
How did I let people down? You know, I actually think that I let people down when I think that the biggest letdown is when I'm not honest with them, or when I'm not really honest with them in important situations and I don't want to hurt them. And at the same time, I feel like this is what happened and I should discuss it. And sometimes I'm just really trying to avoid things. The other part, when you see dog lover with a dog and you know that they need help and there's so much struggle in my mind, often I go like, Peter, yeah, you're not working right now. You can't rescue everyone, right? And for me, it's like I either approach them in some sort of sensible way and not, no missionary zeal, but, just being, I don't know, semi-respectful and say, hey, your dog is pulling on the leash and he's going to hurt his thyroid gland or his neck and so on. I really feel like I let people down when I say, oh, this is not the time. And maybe it's actually not really even possible, right? Like we don't want to lecture everyone and we don't want to, talk to every dog lover there is. It's not about the people, actually. I feel like I let the dogs down because they can't speak for themselves. But ultimately, it's also the people because they live with their dogs and their dogs may get sick or may have problems and I could have prevented them. So when I don't reach out or don't connect with them, it's hard, right? Like we can't really feel like we can rescue everyone. But that's how I feel, actually, honestly. So
Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
I
That's a
don't
good
know.
answer.
I don't know how vets do it. I really don't. I mean, I do some consults, but I limit them down. I do 2 mornings a week of it now. I was doing more, and I just can't do it. I do 2 or 3 in a row, and I'm exhausted. And particularly when it doesn't work out, and you can't seem to help the pet, I take it to heart too much, and I worry too much about it. I feel like I've failed. I failed the pet. I failed them. And I'll pour time into it, and like emotionally, it takes a serious hit. I don't know how vets are supposed to. Young vets come out of college and do 10 or 15-minute consults, sick pet after sick pet after sick pet. That is a serious emotional draw. I honestly believe a lot of the stress in the veterinary community is it's like a carer who gives a lot of their positivity tokens to the patient they're looking after, and as soon as that's not needed anymore, the carer goes down. I really believe that. I really believe that you've so much energy and positivity to go around, and it's very difficult to deal with failing, sick pets coming back, owners annoyed, it's not working. That's relentless. It is a tough ask for a kid to do, and I think that explains the early burnout. Nobody teaches a kid how to deal with that and run a clinic and have a job and pay bills and have staff, and it's a massive ask of any one person. So yeah, serious emotional draw.
it's really nice of you to say, and I think that it comes with practice. Like if we want to climb the mountain, we have to train. And so the brain gets used to it. How do you feel, Nick and Brendan, about it? Like, it's hard, right? Like we get burned out and we get tired, but we still go back to it on some level.
I think there's many ways to answer this question. So I'm going to just jump into in conventional practice that you have certain protocols that if you stick to them, then you have done what is appropriate for that case. just kind of at an academic level. Yeah, you've ticked the boxes, you can't get sued, and therefore you can get in your car and drive home at night thinking, well, the case, it was a disaster, but I did my job, and you can assuage any guilt by just saying, well, I did everything. What I'm saying is that you can distance yourself from the emotionality. But Conor was just saying that he finds it's very difficult. And I think it's that emotionality that is very difficult for vets to cope with. So one is just say, I did everything that I read in the textbook, and, maybe the dog died, and I couldn't do any more. I think what my response to the 15-minute consultations are dramatic. We used to have 10-minute consultations, are dramatically stressful, especially if you take 11 minutes for each consultation, because by the end of 2 hours, you're way behind. So, and that plays into the role of pharma, because it's very easy to, somebody comes in, they say, I've got disease X, you give them drug A, B, and C, and they send them out the door in 9 minutes and 55 seconds. Okay, that's very efficient in terms of time and money, but emotionally it will leave you absolutely barren and corrupted. So my response to it when I started my own business was I just gave myself really long consultations so I can actually speak to people. I can actually discern that which needs to be healed. Sometimes it's the owner. You just need to teach the owner that the dog is going to die, or you need to teach the owner about what makes dogs itch, and then they'll go, oh, it must be because I changed the food 6 weeks ago. Or maybe that which needs to be healed is actually, I once had a cat who, and I treated with homeopathic, the cat was regurgitating, treated it with homeopathics, got the cat 80% better. They thought I was the best thing since sliced bread. Yay, isn't that fantastic? I saw the lady about a year later, and she said, oh, the cat has stopped regurgitating. I said, how did you manage that? Because we tried for another 6 months to try just that last 20%. And she turned around to me and said, I got divorced.
Yeah, no doubt.
Interesting. Of course.
Yeah. So what is it that needs to be treated? So the cat was unhappy because the owner was unhappy because the marriage was.
You won't get that in a 10-minute consult. You won't touch the sides.
You probably won't
that.
get that. Yeah, exactly. So for me, it's an indulgence. I have some fantastic clients, and with really fabulous dogs. I do mainly telephone consultations, so I don't actually get to meet them in person. But I get them to fill out a big questionnaire, and I speak to them. I like to do a telephone consultation rather than a video consultation, because I just find the seeing an image is so distracting. When there's no image there, then you just concentrate on their voice. What are they saying? How are they saying it? How are they feeling? What is the really important thing about what they're saying about this case? So there you go. I can't even remember what the question was.
Yeah, no, it was good though. Yeah.
No, Conor started talking about how difficult it is to be in veterinary practice. And,
that's right. Yeah.
And I think it's really important.
Facing limitations is actually something that we have to get used to, right? But at the same time, I think that with the limitations, there must be open-mindedness. And what I find the most frustrating when people really don't want to get out of the rut because it's just easy. And I just talked to a colleague yesterday, actually. He's in his 60s as well. And he says, I'm done with practice. I go in, they take the TPR, and then I just talk to people for 5 minutes and then I'm out. I was going oh my goodness. I felt so sorry for him, because I realized that he's actually not really continuously finding something curious, something interesting, something curious, something to learn, right? And I think that I don't really know whether it's just the phase of our lives that we kind of may lose it, or whether it's hormones, or whether it's something else, depression or whatever else. But I think that preventing that burnout is actually we can do it by really constantly being curious and also being humbled, like every single day, right? Like we all get humbled by the difficult cases and we can't really find a solution. But this is also the fun part, that when we start comparing our notes and putting our information, our knowledge together, it actually becomes so much more effective. And sometimes I feel like it would be so much fun to actually work in a group of 4 or 5, 6 people and just kind of like have a case, right? And everyone would pitch in and say, okay, like phase 1, let's do Connor's steps. And then if it doesn't work, then Nick is going to contribute, or Brandon, or myself, and so on. So it would be so much fun, but maybe it's just utopia.
Well, they do that in medicine, actually, Peter. These days, they do it. You have a committee.
That's right.
Now,
yeah.
the cynical will say that it means that nobody has to take the rap if it goes wrong. But on the positive side, then you get the benefit of the experience of, say, 6 different clinicians.
Yeah, second opinion clinic, they call it over here, and it's second opinion clinic. 6 or 8 people eating their lunch, and they take 5 or 6 cases a day, and they just talk about it and just pump out some information. It's taken almost by AI, put down into print. The health insurance companies are offering it here. Almost, it comes with the insurance. My mum just got it. Second opinion clinics. I think it's a pretty good idea. 1 or 2 people say, have you tried red light therapy? Because she's clearly got mitochondrial dysfunction. It'll get some diagnosis, I'm sure it'll get some name, but that's clearly what she has. And but she hasn't seen the sun in 2 years, you know. So it's like one doctor just might say something like that, and then you'll get that and go, what is red light therapy, you know? So I think that might be a good idea, get a meeting in minds. Guys, I'm so sorry, I have to bounce. I'm here alone at the moment. I have to bring my kid and pick up someone from gymnastics, so I have to run.
Nice to see you, Connor. We'll connect again.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll leave you in the incapable hands of Nick and Bren, and good luck with that. It'll be
Thank you for coming. Great to see you, and cheers, thank you for all your info and all your chat. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for the time, Peter. All right, cheers, guys. Take it easy.
Take it easy, Connor.
You know, I like the opinion clinics or second opinion clinics, except I think that people and veterinarians and doctors should actually be taught about ego and how dangerous it is in medicine, right? Because it often gets in the way of really finding solutions and also collaborating. And that's what I like on you guys, that we kind of hang out and we bounce things off. I don't feel any tension. Maybe you do, but I don't. So
no, there isn't any tension. It's amazing because we've never said, okay, listen, let's just be nice to each other and what have you. We've all done it, and everybody has a different opinion. And the thing about Raw Pet Medics is that everybody allows everybody else to speak. And there's good ideas, there's bad ideas, there's differing opinions and what have you. But we somehow seem to make it work. But which is remarkable, isn't it, Bren? Really,
it is. I think, look, there's a few things to add on those other bits. I think, you know, we've been talking about how veterinary medicine has changed, and the mentoring of the young vets coming in has massively changed since my day. You know, we have rounds every morning. Now we sit down with the other 3-4 vets. Even the locums will come in, but also the other clinicians. So in the UK, veterinary nurses are qualified. They're responsible to the Royal College. They're clinicians. They're in on those rounds. So everybody has a say. But it's so important, even in energy medicine, for any other people that are outside the veterinary profession but are still caregivers, you know, through energy. I do still say there is so much that they need to realise on, you know, you need to engage with those animals. I love to be, you know, I've got obviously Spider here, she's taking interest in the conversation. But, you know, that's my cat for those people listening and not being able to see. And so the thing is, being able to engage with those animals, being able to share the energy, to be able for them to be part of that healing, being in the room still has a really important part for me. And I think, but really important is that actually that does draw from you. It does draw, you know, energy from you in that whole engagement, and actually being able to clear yourself at the end of the day, being able to go through a process even after each consult, so you're not dragging issues into the next consult, is so important. And I think some of those rounds, some of that mentoring of those other juniors is all about how do you fully open yourselves to that process of the consultation, but at the end of that process, be able to clear yourselves, prepare yourselves, however quickly, for the next, and certainly at the end of the day, so that you don't end up being ill and tired and exhausted. How do you go through a process of saying you truly have done everything that you can? You know, Nick saying that he's not, you know, I think it was your question of not letting people down. But then Nick, for, you know, are there things that you regret? I think, you know, you've got to come out at the end of the day and say, okay, maybe I haven't done that the way I would if I did it again, but I did it to the best of my ability at the time. And be able to let go of that is so important. Otherwise, just bottling that up has a massive impact on your ability to continue as a caregiver. So there is a process. And I think that's what we're here as we get older, as more senior clinicians, to be able to teach those juniors amongst us, you know, how to go through that process.
I really love at the end of the day, you just have to say you've done the best you could. And I think that as we evolve, we know that we made mistakes. Like I used to recommend processed food and kibble. And I was very proud of myself because I thought it was the best I could offer. And then I realized it wasn't. So, you know, we change, and my dog is barking because the sprinklers are going off and he wants to bite them. And he destroys the whole sprinkler system actually when we when they come off on. Oh my goodness, he's gonna be barking the whole time.
It's
Anyway,
okay.
you know, the other thing is that I think that we humans are programmed or evolved dealing with issues or dealing with challenges together in a group. So I think that coming together and kind of solving a problem like a tribe or village is actually much more natural to us, as opposed to working in individual silos, right? Or even being specialists to the smallest little tiny body part. It separates everything. And I think that we are creatures or species of common life as opposed to singular and lonely or solitude life in solitude. My English is always a little interesting. Anyway, shall we go to another question? I'm not sure
Go
how
on.
much time you guys have, but I'm willing to go a little further because it's just fun to hang
Yeah.
out, and we don't do that very
Yeah, let's
often.
do another question. I'm going to have to shoot
Okay, let's
after
do
that, but another question would be
okay.
great.
Yeah.
Let's do
Go
it.
for it.
So I think that Brendan is next to draw, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Inside right.
I'm just gonna change it a little bit.
It's still the inside right.
Right?
I think
Okay,
that's
but it's
middle
gonna be a
left,
beautiful
wasn't it?
question. It's gonna be amazing. It's gonna fit you well. What would you want to tell your child about the world of work? What would you want to
Wow.
tell your child about the world of work?
See, I feel really privileged in that I have shared my world of work with my children. So they have grown up both being part of the practice and we, you know, going out camping and doing all sorts of stuff together. And they, you know, I was not afraid to bring them into the practice. They loved animals, you know, they still love animals, but they, you know, really experienced, you know, why does dad work the number of hours he works? What is going on with that? And I think they have seen that actually the level of mutual respect you have for your colleagues pays dividends in, you know, that relationship at work. So build those relationships at work. Don't ever think that you're the boss. You know, that's not how I've run this. I've always tried to make sure that everybody has a say and that side of things. And don't get me wrong, neither of them work in veterinary practice anymore. I absolutely respect where they've got to with their careers, but it is what I think is that nub of information is, you know, treat people with respect. You know, wherever you see them, if you think they're doing something wrong, you know, try and find out why they've come to that way of thinking. You know, what is it that is their driver behind that? And actually, that conversation alone may be the thing that changes that other person's mind. Not, you should be doing it this way, you're wrong, this is what you should be doing. But actually, why are you doing what you're doing? What's that key bit, you know? And how's that going? You know, what is it that is the result of that? And they sometimes will come up with all sorts of, you know, reasonings and, you know, things, and that they're frustrated because things just don't seem to work out for them, or whatever it is that's happening, and talking that through, getting them to develop their own ideas. You know, there isn't a right way, and if you want a group of practice, a team to work, sometimes you need to engage their superpowers, the other person's superpowers within that team, to get it to function really well, and not think that, no, everybody's got to be a clone of me. You know, that's the only way it's going to work, because believe you me, that would not work for me at all. I don't think I could tolerate myself.
You're saying one Brendan is enough. But
Absolutely.
I do really love the idea, or the reminder, that if we get to know each other more, if we get to know the people that we work with, and even with our clients, you know, it goes all the way to the countries and the world stage. I think that the world would be a better place, the workplace would be a better place. If we understand the whys, then it's always easier to kind of put up with certain differences, right? Not put up even, but tolerate, or not even tolerate, accept the differences actually, and understand that that's actually diversity in that way is super important and also beautiful. And yeah, so thank you so much for such a deep answer. I really appreciate it. I like it. And Nick, I think that the other side is yours.
Okay.
What are your remaining ambitions besides being super fit? Because when I saw you in Orlando, you were fit, but you were not as fit as when I saw you in Mallorca.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that you definitely succeeded there. But you know,
Yeah.
what
Bless
are
you.
your remaining ambitions?
To perfect my handstand. Okay. So guys, when we were in Mallorca, I almost flippantly said to Peter, we were having dinner. It was maybe the Thursday night, I think. We were having dinner. We arrived. Ellie and I arrived really late, and I said, yeah, I'm going to get up early the next morning. And he said, yeah, great, let's get up early. And so I said, okay, 6 o'clock, I'll see you in the gym. And he actually said, yeah, okay. I thought, great, another guy who's crazy as me. But we didn't make 6, or maybe we planned for 5. But we made it for about 6:30, which I think is pretty impressive when you go to a conference, because usually it's like, oh, you've got a thick head and it's like 5 minutes before the conference. But we were there. And so we actually did a little workout together, and we did some handstands together. And he gave me some really fabulous advice about really maintaining very vertical shoulder position. And I've since learned that that's kind of the fulcrum of the handstand. Tell me if I'm boring you guys, but the idea is that you keep your body as straight as possible, and you keep your arms as straight as possible, and then you just use your fingertips to stop you toppling over, yeah, towards where the back of your head is facing, yeah. And so I've taken that advice, and I found that very, very useful. So thank you. I'd never thought about that arm position, but if you see somebody, everybody thinks, oh, I used to do handstands when I was a kid, and it was dead easy. Yes, when you're a kid, it is. I'm 58, and I believe you me, handstands when you're 58 is, and Peter is 60, so it is a whole different 61. It's a whole different ball game. But it's wonderful learning a new skill, and so on a fairly superficial level, and I've got such a bad short-term memory. The thing that I would like to learn, to gain, or to achieve, I can't even remember the question, is to do a really a beautiful handstand and be in complete control, so that I decide when I go up and I decide when I come down, because at the moment gravity is in charge of that whole process.
I love that simplicity of balance.
Oh yeah, it is. It's so simple, but it's so complex.
You made me sound like my handstand is perfect, which is
You've
far
got a
from.
good, no, you're good. You're in good
No,
shape, my
my
friend. Yeah.
my handstand is a banana handstand. That's what
Well,
my yoga teacher would say, because I
okay.
don't really, as a swimmer, I don't really have the open shoulders. So it's really easy for me to lecture others about how they should have open shoulders when, when my handstand is not perfect. But at least we're trying, and I think that handstand is actually, it's almost like an epitome for life, right? Like if you kind of
Yeah,
like you keep trying and trying and trying to make it better and better and better,
yeah,
but you
yeah,
keep falling and falling and getting up
yeah,
and trying again, and that's the
yeah.
fun part. And I think it's probably time for us to end our broadcast, even though
Sure.
I almost feel like we should do it again
I think we've
sometimes.
only just got started. We're just getting in our groove
I
now.
know, you guys,
Yeah.
get ready. Next time it's gonna be, I'm gonna get some juicy questions ready, and
Great.
we'll
Okay.
go from there. Thank you so much for being here. I feel like I have really made new friends this year in 2025, and I really love inspiring me and challenging me, and partying better than me. Anyway, thank you so much for
Brilliant.
everything, and we'll be back. How about that?
Great
It's
stuff.
been great, Peter. I
Yeah,
appreciate
it's
it.
been
Take
really
care.
good.
Bye
Thank you.
bye.